Everyone, thanks for joining GW Xavier Mohr with more memories coming to you from Southern Indiana on a nice crisp November day. And I figured I'd make this quick, well, maybe it won't be quick, video highlighting the album that I just completed that I'll put in this month's completed album challenge on the virtual crop. But I thought it'd be a good way to kind of look at some of the ways that we can use different elements of things, but also kind of some of the new things that I did. So I used primarily the Passport to Adventure collection for this album. I strayed away a little bit here and there, and I'll talk about that as we get to it, but mostly I used the Passport to Adventure, so I've got the whole collection with the artsy add-on that came out, the embellishments, mats, the stickers, the layered embellishments that I used, some of the 8x8 designer paper pack that came out as well, along with the regular paper pack, but primarily I used the Fast to Fab pages, and this is a refill pack. I thought I might need 2 sets of them, but what I ended up doing, I didn't necessarily need the whole 2 sets, so I just have these as extras. And I used the Passport to Adventure album in the Flint Gray. I didn't put the spine on yet, I just put this together, so I'll put that on, but I am going to get a custom-made spine. I also used the 2 punches that came out with it, the stamp border punch that came with an extra set of 20 die-cut embellishments that fit into the cutout, and you'll see that throughout the album, as well as the compass punch, shape punch that came out as well. So I use that here and there also. So we'll do this as best we can, because I didn't have a whole ton of pictures. I mean, I did, but I had to play around with digital copies that thankfully I had, because this is from 2001 Europe trip with the People to People program. So I was fortunate to have the pictures digitally on CD, which was new technology at the time, and was able to play around with enhancing some of the original photos, and some of the photos I couldn't really enhance very well, so I had to go with the original, so they're not that great. But I also had some memorabilia, but then also our main group leader gave us this book that had all of our journal entries in it, along with a lot of other pieces. So it kind of was its own little mini scrapbook. So what I did was I took certain pieces from here, photocopied them to add them in here, just to kind of beef up a little bit of the book itself. So opening it up, that's kind of where I've got our schedule of activities in the original, where we stayed at each date and country, the whole list of all of us that went. And you can see the title page here. I used one of the blog, now the pages, layouts, which was a lot of fun to work on. And you get to see a 17-year-old me, so not many people get to see this. So our air schedule with flight info, our group leaders and some of their info, get to know them stuff, our guide, Barbara. The currency conversion, because at that time, Europe was not on the euro. This was still before the euro, so I may have some coins still from some of the countries, but I don't think I had any dollars to put in. So another piece of memorabilia I'll have to go hunting for. So then we kicked off into Spain. So I combined using some standard pages. This is a standard page I just had wallpapered with pocket pages. This is a non-CM print paper on the back here. I was originally working on this album back in like 2003 or so. And so this is from the original album that I had started work on. And I'll just zoom in a little bit more. So I was able to salvage this flag that I had made, and that was really kind of a nice piece that I was able to kind of salvage some of those pieces I had already kind of put down on pages, but I needed to put them into a new album just because they weren't stored very well, and that whole fun shebang that some of us know all too well. So moving into Madrid, so this highlights our first spot that we came to. And what I had wanted to do, this is one of the this is the tile layout that came out in the blog, now the pages, back with the Wonderful Day collection. So I kind of wanted that feel for the Spain from Madrid. And what I had done here was incorporate some 8x8 peekaboo pocket in here, just to kind of help condense Spain a little bit, or Madrid, because when you have so many photos of everywhere you've gone, you know, it can get a bit burdensome, and I really wanted to keep this down to one album. So that was my strategy throughout, which was how can I best kind of condense but preserve the integrity of the trip as much. Here's actually a postcard that I don't know if I actually mailed it to my grandmother or intended to, because I don't see a postmark on it, so I don't know if I just never found a public post box to put it in, but it was a nice piece of memorabilia I found to add in here. This was, we went to dinner and watched some traditional flamenco dancing. One of the hotels that we stayed at had a piano, so I was fortunate enough to be able to play the piano at a hotel in Madrid, Spain. We went to Toledo. The border here you might notice or remember from one of my other videos on the YouTube, recreating this border. So here's the original one that I had put together for this album, using the Charming Village border punch, the Cacti border punch, the Rolling Hills BMC, the Square Link chain BMC as well, and one of the laser cut borders from the Coastal Shores is in the background there. I inserted multi-pocket pages here, just again trying to condense a bit Toledo and Granada into just kind of a 2-page spread. So the best way I found was using a multi-pocket page to pull all these photos together into a 2-page spread, again, so that I didn't overwhelm with 20 pages of just 2 cities that we went in Spain. And we came to La Alhambra, which is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful place out in Granada. It is a Moorish palace that's been built upon for many, many years. And this was another video segment I had done, which was putting together this 8x8 peekaboo segment on this page. So here I've got these barn doors that will flip open. I got some more peekaboos around here. This middle section also will flip open. Let me move a bit with my camera angle. So this middle section, actually I was cutting some of the Fast to Fab pages to get some of the background of, because I really liked this neutral kind of parchment-like piece. So where I was doing certain things, I actually would take some of the faster fat pages and cut and you be able to use those pieces. So this was an extra kind of scrap hanging around, and I thought, well, it would be nice to just kind of, I can stick this in here, make it match with everything, and I can put some of the info on there. You can see, yes, I have a picture that I need that I don't have, so I've got to hunt that down from someone on the trip. It's a picture of myself and one of my very good friends I made on that trip. We were able to sing in the in the King Charles Palace of Alhambra, and that's kind of that big, it's that famous big rotunda part of the palace that's pretty well known, and some concerts happen there too at times. So our first group photo. We went to Sevilla, and we actually went to a bull ranch and saw some, how they raise the bulls for the bullfighting and whatnot. We then flew, I don't remember flying whatsoever, but we flew to Barcelona. And so that was fun. That was the first time we got to have paella. We visited the El Templo de la Sagrada Familia, which is, I call it the Gaudí Cathedral. It is that famous cathedral in Barcelona that I think has been completed by now, or is set to be completed within the next year. So we got to see it obviously while it was in construction. And I don't normally cut my pictures, but these are actually from the original album that I was able to salvage. And I figured, well, I'm gonna just pay homage to that and put them in there that way, because that's what I was doing at that time. So I wanted it to have a nice kind of feel of what I was doing to what I do now, and finding how I could blend them together. Our bus broke down for the first time, and everybody, well, all the guys had to go out and push, except me. I had to take the photo. Oh, I forgot to mention this. So these are actual stamps that I had gotten while I was in Spain, and what I had done. I forgot to highlight this back here. So let me flip back real quick. Here in this border, I integrated them with the stamp border. So here are some of those stamp embellishment pieces that come with the stamp border. And then I got a coordinating background. I think it's from Gridiron, actually. And trimmed the stamps just a little bit to fit in here, and stuck them in those spots and wove them a little bit. So I thought that was kind of a neat way. If you have something like memorabilia, like stamps you didn't use, that stamp border punch is a neat little way that you might be able to incorporate them into layouts. It's fine. There we go. We took an overnight train entering Switzerland. We didn't spend too much time in Switzerland. We went to the International Red Cross and the United Nations. As well as we went to a Swiss dairy farm. Oops, I'm getting ahead of myself. We went up into one of the glaciers, and it's one that they carve out every year. They have to carve out a new kind of new museum in a way that you can walk through, but just because the glaciers shift and move all the time. So each year they've got that job of doing that. Here in Bern is the dairy farm that we went to. And Zurich. So here is where I weaved in the Wandering Wild secret box number 3 from this year. I just felt that it kind of said Switzerland and Germany to me. So then went into Germany. We need a little more room here. So I used, again, some peekaboo pockets, some 6x12s here to get some more of the memorabilia I have. We went, we were supposed to take one of those gondolas up to view the Black Forest, but our bus broke down again on our way there, so we didn't make it. So once again, we had to give it a push start. But while we were waiting for, service to come help or to get another bus, we got to hang out and just get some nice views up there. Then we went into France. We had a homestay experience, so that was my assigned journal topic. So here's a copy of my journal from the book of the homestay that we were in Bondoufle. I probably am saying that wrong. I don't speak French. That was our homestay family, and these were some of our homestay families. The son, some of his friends that we met up with in the evening to play soccer with. Meeting back up with the group, we then entered into Paris. So here's the famous Moulin Rouge. We actually passed through the tunnel of the accident of Princess Diana. We didn't get to go to the Paris Opera House, but we passed by it, and as a fan of musical theater, how could I not snap a quick photo and get some postcards, infamous of the famous story by Gaston Leroux, The Phantom of the Opera. So this was another piece that was difficult for me to try to figure out, because I wanted this to be interactive, because I had this small postcard little booklet, and I didn't want to cut it up. I wanted it to be able to flip through, so I was able to figure out how to adhere it, cut the page protector, weave it in, and have enough of it to work where it will flip through. Of course, we went and saw Notre Dame. And of course, the Eiffel Tower. The Arc de Triomphe. We actually went up the Arc, the 280 stairs up to the top, and 280 stairs back down. We passed by the Sacré-Cœur and went to Montmartre, which is kind of like it's a very artistic town, and that's where I actually had a street artist do a portrait of me in a very unique style. It was very geometric, charcoal on paper. It was really interesting. It was a nice souvenir bringing that home. From the Arc de Triomphe, we walked the Avenue des Champs-Élysées to the Louvre. It was quite the walk on a hot day in France. We got to see the Mona Lisa, the Venus de Milo, the Hall of Antiquities. And so you can see I've interwoven fast to fab pages with some other designs. Moving into the Chateau de Versailles, or the Palace of Versailles. So again, a fast to fab page with a multi-pocket page. Our group photo, a peekaboo that's holding a brochure. And then I have some multi-pocket pages at the end here for photos that I might be able to get from other folks on the trip at some point, I can tuck them in, since I'm not going to be able to necessarily weave them into the layouts, and that's fine. And so I guess one of the pros and cons of using the Fast to Fab pages, right? So for example, here at La Alhambra, it was really easy to just not have to think about the layout necessarily, the background layout papers. It was already pre-done, pre-printed. I just could come in and figure out how did I want to make anything different and embellish it. So I used the punch outs from when I made the square chain from Toledo. That's these punch outs here. Yeah, I used the elegant diamond again in the bronze shimmer. You know, I just picked some things that would kind of speak to some of that Moorish influence. Diamond chain BMC. So it was really nice to be able to just kind of start figuring out where do I want pictures, you know, kind of power sorting that way. I didn't have to necessarily think too much about how to put together the background pages. I could just look at the pictures, organize them, then think about matte colors, or what I wanted else to do. The one con I have about the Fast to Fab pages is just that the order in which they are printed. So yes, you can swap that order around, but at times it became a little bit difficult just because I knew, right, I wanted these Fast to Fab pages to be in Paris, and then I figured out, okay, I'm going to do it with Notre Dame and the Eiffel Tower, but the opposite side of this page did not really go with the other side of this page, which came from the homestay. So I had to figure out, I had to do a little wallpapering here. I did keep the edge of that parchment. I used the Paris Scenes paper pack to help kind of supplement as well. So there were times that I had to, you know, wallpaper over to get the flow that I wanted, or I had to insert some pages to get to where I wanted to. So then I knew I wanted these pages to be with Versailles, but to get there, I had to first get through the Arc de Triomphe and the Sacré-Cœur and Montmartre and the Louvre. And so I had to insert some pages and then figure out a layout for them. So pros and cons to everything. Overall, I liked the Fast to Fab. I don't know when I'll use it again, but anyway, I liked it. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was helpful. Thanks for going on that little trip down memory lane with me. And as always, if you need anything, reach out to your favorite advisors. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching and happy scrapping.